welcome back to the E3 podcast. I'm Melissa Johnson. Today we have Liz Benzschawel is joining us, and we are going to be talking about some interesting things today. So Liz, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, so let's start by just introducing yourself, and if you could just tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're up to.
Sure. So my name is Liz Benzschawel. I'm out of Madison, Wisconsin. I started my career in sales. I was in a sales leadership development program for a large beverage company. And then after that, I got into sales full time. My first real full-time sales job was doing uniform rental sales. And then I'd always, from the time I bought my first house, I just kind of saw what real estate investing could do. So it was a 3-bedroom house. So I rented out the 2 other bedrooms to 2 good friends of mine. And it was kind of a win-win situation. I gave them a discounted rent and they basically covered my mortgage. And from there, I was kind of hooked on what real estate investing could do. I just saw what the passive income coming in could do. And shortly after that, my brother also started doing a similar thing where when he would move, he turned it into a rental. So we both were kind of investing in single family homes on our own. And now we're currently looking for our first larger multifamily purchase this year. We just, in talking, decided we could pool our capital and kind of take it up a notch. So I still do sales full time, but what really lights me up is doing the real estate investing and just seeing what it could do from what you can get in the appreciation of the property, what you can get through cost segregation, and then also what cash flows. So it's just something I kind of stumbled on, and it's a passion, and that's what I'm working on right now, is just keeping up with the day job and then also doing the investing on the side.
Nice. You're a busy lady.
Yeah, it's hard to keep it all straight sometimes, but I've learned that having property management companies and having people that help out, it helps a ton, and it's worth it. Taking a smaller margin on the cash flow just to not have to worry about it and put it in place. It's of course a lot of work up front, but then once it's moving and working, it's a beautiful thing. So really glad I got to stumble with that.
Smart getting a property management company involved so early. That was one big mistake that I made buying rentals, is I was trying to manage them on my own for a really long time. And I just remember, like, once I was able to offload that, just this feeling of relief, like, God, why didn't I do that sooner? It's such a pain.
Yeah, and it frees up so much time. So you can either grow or focus on other stuff you want to do, or art, or whatever it may be. So
exactly. So are you just buying rental properties right now while you're working? Are you doing any flips or anything else?
I am not doing flips. My brother just did a flip. We have a handful of single family homes between us. But so we saw like what it could do moving to the next level. And that's what we want to do now. So in talking, we were like, well, let's pool our capital into a larger purchase. But he just did a flip. The market is crazy right now. So he sold off one of his single family rentals. He only had it as a rental for a year. And honestly, when he purchased it, I thought it was a terrible investment just because the price point was so high. And I didn't tell him this until he found success in it. So I told him when he got the offer on it that he did, I was like, all right, I thought that was a terrible investment, but it worked out. So he got $75,000 over asking, and they paid his closing costs, waived the inspection, and it's all cash. So yeah, he made out really well from that. But so I guess it was a rental for a year, but he bought it to flip it. So
he made a little money off the rental portion of it, and then made all the money back on the resale.
Yeah, where he made it was the resale for sure.
Yeah, this market is crazy. I tell you, I've been hearing stories like that, and suddenly I'm like, where are all these people coming with all this cash from all of a sudden? That's like been my first question, because I had, I don't list, but my realtor for me lists, our properties, and I feel like it's usually like FHA or conventional loans, but this last deal that we put on the market, I had multiple cash offers, and that's really unusual
Yeah.
for our market, at least.
Yeah, I bet it's like a big part is with COVID, like people being able to work from home or hybrid. They don't have to be in big cities or close to their work anymore. I think that's a huge part of it. And just wanting space in, like a larger area if they don't have to be in a concentrated area. So I've heard there are mass exodus going on from like Silicon Valley, Chicago, which is close. A lot of people are moving out of the city. So I think it's definitely like a trend that's happening in a lot of larger cities.
That's so interesting. I really need to put some more thought into that because, just a few years ago, everybody was wanting to live in the city. It was all about, workable downtowns or walkable, God, walkable downtown area. Yeah. Ugh. Like the live, work, play kind of stuff. And there was this whole like migration of people moving back into these neighborhoods, near downtown sort of areas. So that's interesting now that people are like, nope, never mind. We're going to go live off the grid now.
Yeah, for
My
sure.
dad.
I know you're in Texas.
Mhm.
Are you in the Austin area?
So I'm like far northeast of San Antonio where I actually live, but I invest in San Antonio. I don't invest in Austin, but I'm a little less than an hour from Austin and about 30 minutes into San Antonio.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's a good
It's a good
spot. Very
Yeah.
cool.
We're having a lot of people move here too from California, New York, Illinois, like people like you were saying, like exactly, but a lot of California people coming here.
Yeah, I've heard that's been going on for a while,
Mhm.
with tech companies going to Texas. I was on a plane and somebody referred to it as the flight of the nerds, like so many people coming from California and tech to like the Austin, Texas area.
Yeah, it's booming. It's booming for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So with you having a sales background, how do you feel like that's helped you in real estate as far as like, negotiating with sellers? Like how are you guys finding properties, and then how does that process look for you, and how does like what you do in your day job kind of help with that, do you think?
That's a great question. I think it translates so much. I mean, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I feel like being in sales, that's about as close as you can get in a W-2 to being an entrepreneur. And the people that are the best at sales, they run it like a business. They run it like it's their business. I think also just the ability to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, not being afraid to ask for what you want, because in sales, if you're not comfortable asking for the business, you're you're not going to be the best at it. And also just like so many new people, being comfortable with so many different types of people. In my first sales job, I called in everyone from small mom and pop shops to large corporations, and whoever the decision maker was, that's who I was trying to get time with. So whether that be somebody in operations or the mom and pop owners of a smaller industrial body shop, or C-level leadership. So it was kind of like across the board. It just taught me to work with all different kinds of people. And it taught me to be smart about my time, to not waste my time, because there are some people that are nice that will kind of string you along. And if you don't learn to either ask for the business, or one line that I got really comfortable saying is, you're not going to hurt my feelings, you're not going to offend me, but is this something you're really interested in? So just like learning to have some of those, what can potentially be uncomfortable conversations, I think has helped. One of my first mentors I met kind of by accident. For what I was selling when I started, it was facility services. So I was trying to meet with a new restaurant that was going into this building. And so I called the name that was on the construction slip, and it was the guy that owned the entire building, not the restaurant. But we were trained that once we got someone on the phone to set the appointment and to get time with them. So I did that, and just we ended up talking for like 2 hours. He told me his life story, and he's been a really big support and mentor now in real estate investing, because he has over 1,000 doors in the Madison, Wisconsin area. So I think just like, yeah, being able to be in different situations with very different personalities, I think that's helped a ton. And then just the people I've met through doing it, I've been able to meet and develop some really good relationships just because I would come across so many different people during a day, and then I would kind of hold on to the people that I liked and I knew, cared about me and my career and wanted to help. So I feel very fortunate for that. I do need to find ways where I can give back. I feel like there have been so many people that have helped me in it. I was just thinking about that this morning when I was running, is I need to find ways that I can start giving it back to others, because I feel like I've been given so much, but I want to find more ways to kind of give back. So that's my next focus.
One thing that, and you may or may not be doing this already, but if you want to give back, is just being a connector of people.
Yeah.
I found that to be really helpful for me too. Like, I love interviewing people for the podcast and stuff. So it's been a win-win, because I'm able to first put a spotlight on all these cool women, right, that are doing cool things. And I get to learn from other people and maybe share a few things here and there with people that might be helpful. But then,
okay.
He's going to kill me, all the editing he's going to have to do on this. So yeah, what I was trying to get out there was being able to interview all these people and everything. And like, once I talk to somebody, it's like, oh, I talked to somebody like a week ago that's really good at that. Or somebody like, this is their expertise, or they know somebody or they're doing something, they have a helpful product maybe. And so that's been really great, just like connecting people, because making those connections has led to all kinds of cool things, like for everybody. So yeah, that could be a good way to give back, just with those connections.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's a great point. And that's something I love to do too. I actually did that recently. There's a guy that hosts a podcast that I went on, and he was asking me for people that should come on next. And he was really grateful when I threw out some names, and it also helped them kind of get out what they were trying to do. And I know they've gotten people that have reached out from doing that. So it is cool to see kind of like the ripple effect of doing that stuff. So I appreciate that. I think it'd be great to put more of a focus on that.
Yeah. Yeah. You just never know where those things might lead. Like, I swear I've talked to some women and suddenly it's like, we should do something together. Like, let's collaborate. And like, that's fun too. It's not even, just the one thing for the one person, but when you can get several people involved and have like some kind of collaboration with them, that's also really, I just feel like everything now is moving so much toward networking, and it's really about who you know. I mean, you used to be able, and I still do, like all these other types of marketing and everything, but do you feel like, especially being in sales, have you noticed more of kind of things shifting to more of that way of thinking, like it's who you know, it's networking, it's getting out there, it's talking about what you're doing with as many people as possible?
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely true, especially in the real estate investing space. And I think that's because it benefits people so greatly, if like the connecting piece, like you were saying. And there's one guy that I've met through doing networking, and on his podcast, he always says, your network is your net worth. So I think that that's definitely true. And I think I think people are smart to do that stuff, because like you're saying, like, you never know what can come from a connection or putting yourself out there and meeting somebody new, where that will take you. And I feel like I love that. That's so exciting to me, like not knowing what could come just from putting yourself out there and meeting somebody different.
Exactly. I mean, it's even, I'm talking about doing stuff that I've never even done before. I've been in real estate investing for 18 years, and suddenly it's like, that's like a whole different area of real estate. And it's something that I had never thought about before. And, other things that I'd like to try. So really having that open mind and being able to meet and talk to people doing different things, like, probably for you too, like, how would you network to find somebody, like when you're looking for a multifamily property right now?
Yep.
So
Correct.
how are you guys going to go about doing that, finding that property?
Yeah. So, and I think that's something you'd asked before. So sorry if I missed that question. So the best deals we found are through word of mouth and through people we've met just in talking, like just in talking and telling them what we're trying to do. So like one opportunity we almost bid on, it's somebody I met through my friend that's a banker who I met in a previous sales job and just stayed close with. And his buddy that he does lending for was selling his mixed use property. But what held us back on that is that the largest tenant was for a restaurant and it was currently vacant. So it was hard. It was hard to look at the potential on it and walk away from it. But I talked to other people that have been in the space a lot longer, and there's one guy in particular I went to because he owns a ton around the Madison area, which is where this property was. And he was like, I just bought a similar place on State Street, which is like a popular area. And he was like, now I've been sitting on it, it's been vacant. So if we were at a different stage in our investing career where we had a lot of other assets that would offset it until it could get back into the green, that would be one thing. And I think we definitely would have. But at this point, not knowing how long we would take a hit on those vacant spaces. And it wasn't just the restaurant, it was another retail space as well. But I'd say that's how I found the best deals. There's been a couple on the MLS that were really attractive. One was a value add, and that was gone within like a few hours once it hit the MLS. So at least we know we're onto the right things if other people are seeing that and going after it. But it's hard to be patient. Like there are a few deals that we've seen that we've been very close to either buying or putting an offer in on, but they could work, but it's hard to be patient and wait for something that's going to be really great. And we also have had to shift where we're looking because where we initially wanted to invest, it was so heavy on appreciation that there wasn't much for cash flow. So I think, yeah, I mean, the best deals have come from that word of mouth and then just doing underwriting with what we've seen available either on LoopNet, hidden MLS, or that we've gotten through brokers, real estate agents. So yeah, but I think it just reinforces the importance of what we were talking earlier about networking and people, once they know what you're trying to do, they think of your name when something fits what you're looking for, and then they can come to you about it. I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, I've noticed referrals, and this comes over time too, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have done some deals to do referrals, but referrals have been a really great lead source for us too. And it is just like reaching back out to them. Like we just launched a referral campaign where we went back for the last couple of years we contacted all of those sellers and just said, hey, we were happy to help you with the sale of your house on 123 Main Street. If you know anybody that's looking to get rid of a property, ask your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, people that you work out with, like anybody that's in your network, we'll pay a referral fee if we close the deal. But those are it's again, like a networking thing. It's just like reaching out to the people that and even people that you've done business before with for those referrals is really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Is that how you found your guys' best properties or best assets?
That's how I found the last couple of deals that we did actually were all referrals.
Nice.
So very low lead cost.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I was talking with another female investor recently, and she said that she found deals through properties that hit the MLS and then were taken off. She did something where she would go back to that listing agent and say, if if the owner is ever thinking about listing again, and just inquire about it. And then like one of her best properties was from doing that, which is something I thought that was really creative. I never thought about doing that, like something that's hit and then gone off and then going to the actual listing agent to try to find out more about it.
Yeah, that is a good idea. We used to do a little bit of that in the past, but I mean, it's just, there's so many different marketing techniques and it just depends on when's the right time to use that, right?
100%. Just like investing. I mean, trying to find leads and and opportunities. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. You can spend so much time. So it's tough to always like narrow it down and keep it simple when there are so many different avenues you can go.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious about your journey from going from single family rentals to making the decision to go into the multifamily space. What kind of influenced that decision?
I think it was all the conversations with my brother. He's also, like I had mentioned, he's seen what it can do and he's very passionate about it. And then just, I mean, it's one building versus 8 single family homes. So it's less landscaping, less just everything all in one place. And then like what you can get off of one door if you have like 18 doors all in one place. I mean, you can just cash flow more. I mean, there's also more risk, but there's a lot more upside too. And one thing that appeals to me a lot is just being able to keep more money in my pocket. So doing a cost segregation study and then being able to write off the depreciation of it, I think that's huge too, because what you would save in taxes. And like I mentioned before, the appreciation, just putting something in place and having it grow, like that's what's really attractive to it about it to us.
Mm. Are you going to keep the rentals that you currently have? Or I know some people, like when they decide to level up to the multifamily and they've been investing for a while in single family, they'll maybe bundle up some of the single families, sell those off to raise enough capital to buy a larger multifamily. Is that a strategy that you guys are looking at, or what's your strategy for buying?
I'm not, but my brother did just sell off one of his single family homes, and he's debating doing another one just because of how hot the market is right now. And then being able to roll that over into the next purchase. I've thought about it because just the one of the rentals I have is what I could sell it for, and then just looking at that bucket of money, what that could do somewhere else and get more cash flow and do more with it is very attractive. But that is part of the strategy, I guess, for especially for my brother in this. But I've always been pretty frugal, so I've saved up a lot of capital. And then once we decided to do this, I really started saving up. So I don't need to, and when it's cash flowing, it's hard to look at those properties and be like, it's doing well, and then to move it. But I mean, I'm not opposed to that in the future if there's an opportunity where it can do a lot better. So.
Mm. Have you thought about like syndication or raising private capital to buy any of these?
Yeah, I have. And I feel like that's where a lot of people go organically once they start investing, is a lot of people go to syndication. And it's cool going on these real estate investing networking calls and then having people reach out for one-on-ones. And in some of those conversations, I've even had people say they would like to invest or like to put capital in on whatever we're doing next. And that's very it's very attractive to look at that. But for our first larger multifamily home, or multifamily building, we want to do it ourselves for the first time, to be able to learn to get 50/50 of what it cash flows and what it produces, and then get that under our belt before we would look to taking on other people's money. So I guess I'm not opposed to that. It's something that's interesting to me, but I kind of want to piece it off a little bit and do it when I feel a little bit more ready. And when we have that a little bit more of a proven track record, I think too.
Do you have you guys made a plan for reserves and what you're going to need?
Yes. Yeah. We've talked through that dollar amount. And that's part of why my brother sold off one of his single family rentals, is to make sure we had enough in reserves, or that he had enough for his portion of reserves. But one thing I was going to ask when we were just talking about syndication, have you thought about getting into that at all?
I've thought about it, and I've had some opportunities come up. I've got one in my inbox right now that I need to still go through. I just I don't do multifamily, but I'm not opposed to possibly investing in multifamily. as
Yeah.
just like as an investor that way, but not actually buying like the whole thing myself or doing anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And
have
that's
thought about it.
nice. And that's like what we were talking about, so many different ways to invest. Like there are always people looking for LPs or limited partnership in their building. So like there are so many different ways to do stuff like that. And I think that's a great way to tip your toe and do it too.
Oh yeah. And I feel like if I take on one of these larger projects, like we were talking about before we started the episode, I would definitely have to do something like that. I wouldn't want to put all my capital into a project like that. It would just be,
Yeah.
it'd be a lot out of pocket. It would be a little scary, I think. So I think it would be better to kind of spread that out a little bit and be smart
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I totally get that. It can be a little unnerving when you see those numbers.
Yeah, especially like those numbers look so different from doing single family homes, whether it's flips or rentals or whatever. Like when you start moving into those larger multifamily or commercial, it's like a huge mindset shift
Yes.
about that,
Yeah.
right?
Way to describe it, a mindset shift.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I went from this, $200,000 house to like a $2 million property. Like
Yeah.
totally, tax consequences are different. Like everything is different. It requires like a whole new skill set.
Yeah.
Moving it, from one space like that to another.
Yeah. So true.
Awesome. Well, Liz, I thank you so much for your time this morning. I'm sorry about my hacking up a lung there.
That's all the bug. You woke up with a cold. It's all good.
I know, what the heck. I literally couldn't talk for like the first 20 minutes, but so I appreciate you and you sharing a little bit about your journey, letting people know who you are. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, especially like I was saying earlier with all the boss ladies you've had on. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and chat with you for a little bit. But people can find me at Westmorland Investments at Gmail or on LinkedIn under Liz Benzschawel.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.